Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you could join me today. We're not just observing a news cycle anymore. We are living through a fundamental geopolitical inflection point. The tectonic plates are shifting, and today we're dissecting the most glaring example: the defiant, calculated pivot by two massive powers, India and Russia, against pressure from Washington. The question before us is this: why did the US pressure campaign on India did not go as anticipated by US government, proceeded based on a profoundly false economic assumption? They banked on the idea that because India is part of the globalized economy, we could use the threat of sanctions, the big stick, to force them to abandon Russia. Here's where they got it wrong. And it's an oversight that suggests a frightening lack of homework. The US assumed that India's exports to us, maybe 5 to 10% of their GDP, gave us irresistible leverage. But did anyone stop to perform the counter-analysis? Pause. The damage caused by stopping those exports is a minor ripple compared to the devastating impact if India were to stop buying inexpensive oil and natural gas from Russia. That simple calculation would bankrupt swathes of the Indian economy. Ask yourselves, would any sovereign government facing a choice between a 5% export dip and national economic ruin choose the latter? Of course not. This was a classic case of Washington mistaking its own desires for global reality. Beyond the dollars and cents, we are dealing with what I call a generational historical amnesia in our foreign policy establishment. Our leaders from the Clinton era right up through today seem to have zero understanding of the deep historical relationship between India and Russia. This partnership didn't start last week. It goes back to the Soviet era. While the US was leveraging Pakistan as a base for CIA operations, a strategic move Russia never forgot, India was viewed as a steadfast, non-aligned friend by Moscow. And what about our own strategic blunders? Administrations fought tooth and nail to forge a crucial US-India nuclear cooperation agreement, a delicate, finely tuned diplomatic achievement designed to pull India into the world order we dominated. What happened? We've managed to self-sabotage, even murder, that relationship in its crib. India now has these expansive new vistas, these alternate strategic paths, because we forced them to look elsewhere. This short-sighted, unilateral approach has done something truly counterproductive. It has forced Russia and China together, and it's now pushing India, a nation soon to be the world's most populous and a massive producer of high-tech talent, directly into that same block. The whole narrative we're getting from Washington is obsolete. The old US goal to destroy Russia and then pivot to China has been undermined. For decades, the United States was the ultimate authority. We were the E.F. Hutton on the global stage. When E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens. That's over. The recent talks between Putin and Modi focused on deep political, economic, and military cooperation. Everything from co-producing fifth-generation fighter jets to building massive nuclear power plants. They're simply not listening to Washington's dictates anymore. Think about what $3 trillion in annual interest payments means for the average American. It means massive cuts to services, a shrinking safety net, and immense pain, especially for the lower two-thirds of the population living paycheck to paycheck. This fiscal recklessness is tied to an ideology, or lack thereof, in our foreign policy. Is it driven by national interest or something else? Honestly, I see a policy driven by a political class of grifters. If a policy or a partner isn't immediately valuable to their personal brand or short term interests, they simply turn their back on it, whether it's the Ukraine conflict or a critical ally. Finally, let's address the most emotionally charged topic: Ukraine. I'm tired of the political hype. Let's stick to the military facts. When we talk about the strategic national interest, we have to look at the battlefield reality. Pundits on cable news are missing the core truth. Russia will crush Ukraine militarily. The idea that sanctions will stop this or that political maneuvering can reverse it is delusional. Look at Russia's military buildup. Their ground forces have swelled to approximately 1.5 million personnel. They now have the manpower and the strategic depth to push offensives on multiple axes. The West needs to face the facts. Sanctions have only strengthened the Russian economy and consolidated the Russia China India alignment. So, what is the takeaway for us in this? The era of effortless US hegemony is over. The world is realigning, and that alignment is built on self interest and historical relationships, not DC dictates. Your future requires you to understand this new multipolar world. You need to focus less on what Washington wants and more on what the emerging powers are doing.